Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of An Attempt to Fly Under the Radar. This will be Part 4, Chapter 5, entitled, Why Izuku Can't Have Nice Things. Why couldn't Izuku ever have anything nice? Why was it that every time something even remotely good happened to him, the clouds opened up for God to say, I hate you, Izuku Midoriya? It happened the first day of school, when instead of making new friends and learning about what all UA had to offer, he was humiliated and singled out in front of his new classmates by Mr. Aizawa, as well as nearly beaten up and threatened twice by Bakugo on school grounds. It happened the first day of classes, when instead of being able to celebrate actually beating Bakugo during the battle trials, he was not only recovering from a near-fatal injury, he won't die if he dodges, but was scolded and lectured by Mr. Aizawa for his performance. What the hell was he supposed to do, let himself get killed? And it happened the day he passed his provisional license exam, when instead of celebrating with the rest of his classmates and friends, he was dragged outside to ground beta by a furious Bakugo to fight after curfew. Izuku tried multiple times to leave. He tried telling Bakugo that he had already been given a month's worth of detentions for how he had been treating him. That got him a nasty punch to the jaw. He tried reminding him that they'd be in serious trouble for being caught outside after curfew. He'd been told to shut the fuck up. And he even tried bargaining by saying they could wait until fundamental heroics the next day. If you don't want to get hurt, then use your fists, was all he said before lunging at him. The fight was messy, and by the time a royally pissed off Mr. Aizawa managed to erase both their quirks and capture the two of them with his capture scarf, they both had racked up some nasty wounds. He said nothing as he dragged them both to the dorm security room and dressed their wounds. You fought the night of the preliminary licensing exam. I'm glad to see you both have so much energy left over, he said in a barely held-back yell, glaring between both of them but directing most of his ire towards Izuku. Izuku didn't dare react. He didn't dare say anything as his mind drifted from the present to Takoba Beach. He didn't dare scoff as he heard Aizawa yelling about, If you stopped wasting your talents and grew up already, you would have passed the exam, before the howling waves of the Pacific took over. He didn't dare glare at his homeroom teacher as he saw the disappointment in his eyes that was directed at Bakugo, before the white sand and clear blue water flashed before him. Why is it always you, problem child? Izuku wasn't at Takoba Beach anymore. He was in Heights Alliance's security room with a livid 6'1", pink sweatpants-wearing man looming over him. For how smart All Might and the other teachers say you are, you sure have a knack for causing me trouble. First, you refuse to get a handle on your quirk, then you betray mine as well as the entire school's trust, and sneak off to Kamino Ward to play being a hero. Now this? Do you think that just because All Might likes you, that you can do whatever you want and fight whoever you want, damn the consequences? You think that because I actually get on to you and don't let you co-spy on your quirk that you can run to All Might and he'll make it all better for you? Hey, I was the one who threw the first punch, Teach, Bakugo angrily interjected. I was the one who wanted to remind Deku where his place was. That fight was on my terms. You think a cheater like Deku could beat someone like me? Enough, Mr. Aizawa finally bellowed, miraculously shutting the blonde up. You're both on house arrest. 4 days for Bakugo, 3 days for Midoriya. During that time, you'll clean all the common areas in the dorm morning and night. Plus, I want a written apology. If your injuries need to be checked out, head to the infirmary, but don't rely on the old lady's quirk this time. Figure out a way to heal yourselves. The capture scarf loosened around them, and Mr. Aizawa sighed heavily before curtly sending the pair off to bed. Izuku could never have nice things. Finally, he had a teacher in his corner who listened to him and believed in him when it came to how he'd been treated for the past 10 years by Bakugo and his teachers. And look where that had gotten him. A fractured jaw courtesy of Bakugo, as well as both him and All Might in the hot seat with Mr. Aizawa. Are you really surprised that Mr. Aizawa reacted like that? He hates you, and probably hates you even more for snitching. To make matters worse, the rest of his classmates were acting as though he was equally at fault, as Bakugo was for the whole thing. So stupid. You guys fought and now you're on house arrest? Morons. That's dumb. Did you guys make up? You guys are lucky you only got away with house arrest. You're already missing the opening ceremony for the new term. Izuku gritted his teeth as he stuck the vacuum nozzle into the carpet, trying to mute everything and everyone around him. Them too? He knew they also had blinders on when it came to Bakugo. He had such an amazing quirk, so who could blame them? But now they were turning against him too. Why wouldn't they? He was a quirkless cheat who didn't belong here, unlike everyone else. Why was it that when Bakugo tried to kill him, assaulted him, or insulted him, It was brushed off and excused by everyone. But when Izuku defended himself against this treatment, he was insulted and dismissed. Anyone would pick Bakugo over you. You're lucky All Might felt sorry enough for you to take you under his wing. You should have done everyone a favor and killed yourself. He was angry. He was angry, angry, angry. Bakugo, what are your plans for the remedial license exam? Shut the fuck up, Icy Hot. That has nothing to do with you. Out of the corner of his eye, Izuku caught the death glare Todoroki shot the blonde. If looks could kill, Bakugo would have been dead, but the boy in question was too busy wiping the windows of the common room to notice. Well, at least he had one friend by his side. As the rest of their classmates left the dorm while calling out their goodbyes, Todoroki stayed behind, giving Izuku the much softer and kinder expression that he had grown used to seeing ever since the sports festival in Hosu. I'll see you this afternoon, Midoriya. I'd like your help in preparing for the remedial license exam. He shouldered his book bag and gave him a warm wave goodbye before leaving for the day. Oi, Deku! For someone who cheated their way into UA and fourth in our class, you sure are a shitty cleaner. Bakugo shouted over the laughter and chatter at the dorm's common area. Look at this fucking dust! Your room must be a fucking pigsty if you're leaving the common room like this. Ignore him, Todoroki whispered, directing Izuku's attention back to their English homework. Technically, one of the rules of Izuku's punishment was that no one was allowed to share what was taught in class over the next 3 days, but no one was willing to speak up when the two-tone boy asked Izuku a question about the day's grammar lesson, silently daring anyone to say anything. Izuku nodded his head. So, the sentence structure. Deku, you think you're all high and mighty to talk to me because All Might chose you? The room fell quiet, and Izuku felt eyes on him. They were probably mad at him for ignoring Bakugo, probably wanted to see Bakugo put him in his place like the Deku he was. He steeled his nerves and noticed Todoroki clenching his fists. Closing his eyes and gritting his teeth, he seemed incredibly on edge, and, come to think of it, he always was when Bakugo. Deku, I'm fucking talking to you. I'm not afraid to drag you outside for a second round. What happened next was both expected and unexpected at the same time, because while Bakugo was storming over to Izuku with explosions popping off on his hands, it was entirely on point. Who could have predicted Todoroki standing between the two and smacking Bakugo in the nose as hard as he could with an English textbook? All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 5 of An Attempt to Fly Under the Radar. Chapter 6 will be up next. I really like this chapter a lot. I think the author does a great job having Todoroki stand up for Izuku and showing the friendship there, since everyone else kind of doesn't seem to be really stepping up in the friend department, and Bakugo needed to be put in his place. So I think that the author did a great job with that, and I really like the fact that a textbook was used. Like, he didn't even use his quirk. He just pulls out a book and just smacks him across the face with it. So I think that it was really great. Let me know your thoughts and reactions to this chapter as well. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.